Welcome to the Conversations with Champions podcast. My name is Johnny Randolph, and I am the founder and the Chief Learning Officer of the Randolph Speaker Bureau. Before we get started, I want you to go out there and hit that subscribe button or hit that like button. That is how the algorithm knows that you enjoy what you are watching. Today, on this episode, I have a fascinating guest. He is an author. He is the host of the Go podcast. He is a renowned speaker, also known as the Go Guy. Please put your hands together for acclaimed speaker, Mr. Derek Lott.
Hey, let me know when he shows up. This guy sounds amazing. Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure.
We're talking about you, good son. Tell me something good, Derek, real quick before we get started. Tell me something good.
I tell you what, I am just having a time really just giving back to the community lately. I have been fortunate enough to spend some time with some middle schoolers and high schoolers and tell them about the importance of communications and how starting now will give them a leg up when they get to college. And more importantly, if they find their own business or find their way to a job, they will be well ahead of the pack with a good set of communication skills.
You can never go wrong with that. I once opened up a seminar. I said, have you ever heard of a hiring manager saying we don't want to hire people with strong communication skills?
Yeah, you have to be able to communicate. It is the most important skill, bar none. It is the only skill that affects your personal, professional, spiritual, social, you name it, it touches it. Communication is the most powerful skill. It is the one thing AI can't get up on you because there's nothing like the presence of a real human being speaking to your heart.
And I always tell people too, if you cannot communicate effectively, if you cannot deliver strong presentation skills, you cannot advocate for yourself.
That's right.
And nobody is going to advocate for you better than you. Now, if you are not familiar with the premise of the Conversations with Champions podcast, or if you are a returning subscriber, we will start by reacting to a speech by Derek. Derek had the good pleasure to make it all the way to the World Championship of Public Speaking final round. Now, I know that may sound impressive if you don't know what it is, but let me elaborate just a little bit more. Around the world, and I'm not talking about the United States, I'm literally talking about around the world, Asia, Europe, Africa, etc. Over 30,000, 25 to 30,000 contestants start off at their local clubs competing in contests. And they advance through various rounds. Then they come to the semifinals from all around the world. From that starting population of 30,000 people, 9 people. 8 people, okay? 8 people. 8 people make it to the finals. So Derek is in the top 8 of 30,000 people to make it to this level. What we are going to do next is he and I are going to react to his final speech. And then afterwards, I'm going to interview him about his overall speaker journey. This is going to be impactful and awesome. So let's get started.
Johnny speaks wheeling in, truth and heart with a brilliant grin. He tells our tale, helps us see the best in you, the best in me. Oh.
Thank you, contest chair.
You're welcome.
Growing up, I adored my grandma, but my granddad, we weren't close at all.
Okay.
What I remember most about my granddad is his head. always under the hood of a car.
Oh.
In the summertime, he wore jeans and a t-shirt. And in those bitter Chicago winters, overalls and thermal underwear. So you got to stop there. You got to stop. You got to take a pause right there, because one of the big things when we were putting this together was you should wear overalls and thermal underwear on the stage. And I was like, I'm not doing it. It's one thing that, you have to be you, right? And I couldn't see myself. It just wasn't me. And so we were thinking, well, how can I do this? And how can I kind of substitute something that gives the overall move? And that's where the suspenders came from. And I've had countless people give me feedback like, those aren't overalls, those are suspenders. And I'm like, it's not literal. It is, you know what I mean? It's like I'm trying to give you the imagery. Don't be so what's the word I'm looking for? Literal. Don't be so literal. I am giving you a substitution for the overalls because there was no way I was wearing overalls.
I was gonna say anal, but I like literal as well.
Anal, there you go. 1991, the day that Grandma died. Contest chair, Toastmasters, and guests. Have you ever lost the most important person in your life? Are you going to be okay, Granddad? I'll manage, son, but don't stop coming by. Maybe building a relationship with my granddad would help me heal. Grandma said family relationships weren't always easy, but well worth it. As chance would have it, I needed my first car. So I leaned into the automotive guru, my granddad. Do you remember your first car?
Yeah, I do.
I had $200, too. And I asked my granddad for help. Let's take a ride. On the way, he told me stories about how he met Grandma, his time in the military, and his favorite pastime, coin collecting. On my mind, what kind of car did he find? Was it something my friends would think was cool? Would I be comfortable taking a young lady on a date? An hour of stories led us up to a house. A man came out wearing overalls and thermal underwear. He tipped his hat, handed my granddad a key, and gestured behind the house. And there, the great reveal, a rusty, dusty 1970s Ford Granada. My heart sank. All I could think about was my friends. We wouldn't be friends long after they saw this car. A date? Forget it. I wouldn't take myself on a date in that contraption. My granddad gave me the congratulatory pat on the back. I'll see you back at the house. He got into his car and off he went. I got into my ride and off I went. And only one of us made it home.
Oh.
I called my, what am I doing? It's 1991.
Christ,
I've got to find a payphone. I found a payphone, called my granddad. He came out, looked under the hood. You need an alternator. An alter who? Let's get you a change of clothes. Why? You can't wear that to the junkyard. The junkyard? Back at the house, my granddad issued me my very first pair of overalls and thermal underwear. On the way, he told more stories about how he met Grandma, his time in the military, and his favorite pastime, coin collecting. Now, the junkyard was a greasy, grimy, smelly cesspool. Every mechanic's paradise. I was a fish out of water. Grandma said family relationships weren't always easy, but this was getting dangerous. In that junkyard, I was slipping and tripping. I almost broke my neck. I was out of my element. But with some coaching from Granddad, I found that alternator. On the way back, he told more stories about how he met
Grandma.
his time in the
military.
And his favorite pastime?
Point collect.
Were you there?
Right. Good technique. Really
Like
good
magic, that rusty, dusty 1970s Ford Granada cranked right up. Vroom! I was back on the road, off to see my friends. And sure enough, as soon as they saw that car, they fell out laughing. This is Derek's car when he starts it up. We ain't going nowhere. It was humiliating.
Man.
I asked my granddad, how long do you think this car will last? It'll last a good while. You know, working on this car with you has really helped me deal with the loss of your grandmother. It had never occurred to me that Granddad had lost the most important person in his life that day. Grandma said family relationships weren't always easy. I was beginning to understand why they were so important. Granddad was right. That rusty, dusty 1970s Ford Granada did last, but he didn't. A couple of years later, he became gravely ill. At his bedside, I was overwhelmed. He reached for my hand and held it tight. And then he was gone. In that moment, all the trips to the junkyard, the roadside rescues, the heartfelt stories created a bond between us. Have you ever felt the deep ache of losing the most important person in your life? Dear friends, are you standing on the edge of a difficult family relationship? What if, instead of running, you leaned into it? What if you loved louder, listened deeper, forgave faster? We all know tomorrow is no guarantee, and we will lose the most important people in our life.
That's why you gotta tell them you love
But
them.
it is the stories and the eternal bond that will live on.
It is.
Grandma was right. Family relationships aren't always easy, but well worth it. Contest chair.
There's a few things that happened in that speech. So right about 6 minutes and 30 minutes, I got a revelation. It was an epiphany of sorts. And there were three things that I did that I took myself down a few notches on that speech. That is a great speech. But what I would say to speakers, do not let a great speech get in the way of the right message.
I completely understand that. Elaborate. I think I know what you're saying, but I want you to elaborate on that point a little bit.
So that came to me at 6 minutes and 30 minutes of that speech on the world stage. And I had to finish. Obviously, I'm like, you're telling me this now? You know, it's like, this is a couple weeks ago would have been probably a better time to have this discussion, right? Not in the middle of the final speech. But I think there's a greater purpose in what happened, because what happened next was even more extraordinary. But so the three things that I didn't do in that speech is at the beginning, I don't know if you noticed, but there's about a minute before there's anything that captures the audience from a humor perspective. It's all a setup to grandma dying. And we always hear, you got 30 seconds, you got 30 seconds, you got to get them laughing, you got to get them out of their seat and so forth. And as I was doing the speech and living the speech and the story, I just couldn't find, I didn't know how I could do that. It's just grandma died. That's the start of the story. I don't know where to crack a joke at in there, but I can't escape the golden rule. And I feel like that's a golden rule. And I broke the golden rule. It's one. The second thing is, have you ever felt the deep ache of losing the most important person in your life? That happens at about 6 minutes, 15 seconds.
I've got about 45 seconds to wrap this thing up. Right? I've taken them so deep and such a place. The crowd's tearing up. They're emotional. I've got to get them back up. I've got to inspire them. I've got to lead them to victory. So one of the things I talk about in storytelling is you have to show people the victory, and not only show it to them, underscore it and sustain it. Now, if I had just followed my own rule, and in my semifinal speech, I do it masterfully. If I had just followed that and brought that to this speech, it would have took my speech up a notch. And then the last thing is I didn't bring it full circle. Right? I didn't bring it full. He dies, but then where is the next gen? Where is the Musafa, the Simba moment? Right, where it was like, this is what happened in your generation, but I made it better for the future and for the next generation. And so I could have easily seen my son being brought into it. Dad, I need my car. I saved up some money, and I go, let's take a ride, son. On the way, I told him stories about his granddad and how he met his grandmother, right? And bring it full circle so that the stories live on and the bond.
It has a closing loop. It has a closing loop.
Yes, that would have been strong and very effective. So that came to me that I couldn't believe. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you telling me this now? But the reason that happened is that immediately following, I wrote this book. It's called The Speaker's Journey to the World Stage. And it has a storytelling blueprint. It has my own big idea methodology and the 2 X factors every speech must have to be at the world championship stage and competitive.
I am a speech nerd, therefore I love this conversation. The first kind of thing, though, that I would like to point out is you said 6 minutes and 45 seconds into the speech, you had this realization. For me, though, every speaking opportunity is new. Every audience is different. And I'm pretty sure because you may have had a lot of confidence in yourself that you were going to advance beyond the semifinal level. But your big focus at the time was probably that semifinal speech.
Absolutely.
To get there. So you probably didn't have as much because you gave that at the semifinals, at the district, and etc. Probably didn't have as much time to work the final speech as you did that one.
That is absolutely true.
Right. And so I understand that, but it is about the journey. And speaking is not just a rehearsed motion of things that you do. As much as you are communicating with your audience, they're communicating with you. And it's this kind of exchange and this energy that you got going on. And you see, and then you're realizing like, I could have maybe have done this, or I could have ever done that. Yeah. But I think the great part is, and again, I don't worry as much about winning the World Championship of Public Speaking. I think it's a great honor. Do not get me wrong. And I know that's why you're there. But in that moment, right, you knew what was right, and you made a pivot to communicate and connect with your audience. And I feel like that's equally as important as worrying about winning a championship.
Oh, absolutely.
None of us knew it. None of us knew it. Yeah, none of us knew it. It was like, oh yeah, exactly. Now, agreed. I do think there probably were some stories. Like I would have liked to see that coin introduced a little earlier because you do have then that's the going loop, and it came out at the end. If we would have got that coin at the beginning, Grandpa flipping it or something, and then you take it out at the end, we'd be like, full circle.
But you've made a very important point, and this is also in the book. At the World Championship, when I sat down after my speech, it was no longer about a trophy. It was for the first time, I got the revelation, this speech is changing people's lives. This is touching hearts. I am giving others the permission to tell their stories.
I also wanted to illustrate this to all speakers out there who enter into the international speech contest, and whether you are eliminated the first round and you are eliminated or you make it all the way to the finals round. Just because you do not place first place does not mean that is a bad speech.
Oh my God.
And if your focus is on the message and not the trophy, the world stage, the International Speech Contest, is just one platform. You can take that message that connects with audiences that you have worked on and do it in other platforms. It can grow into a TED Talk, a podcast, keynote speech, signature speech, a book. So I want to say to speakers, do not get upset about the outcome of a contest. Always put the message first and say, if this is a message that you genuinely believe in, don't stop there. Do it at another platform.
That's it. That's absolutely it. That's so well said. I can't express that and underscore that enough, that you got to move beyond winning a trophy. As a speaker, it's what I call the speaker's creed. I'll use my communication skills to uplift humanity, to encourage my local community, and to support my personal growth.
Yep. And that's what it is. That's what, and everything else around it. And this audience isn't just exclusive to Toastmasters, but to anybody that's a speaker or an aspiring speaker or anything. That's what it is. It's the message and your ability to connect. Derek, one of the things that I have observed as a speaker coach and even as a Toastmaster is that speakers have a vast background of why they wanted to speak. There are some people that from the moment they uttered their first word, you couldn't shut them up. And they just talked and talked. And so they love to be in front of an audience. And then I've met some people where they would almost, outside of death, they would rather do anything other than speak in public, right? Yeah. So the question that I have for you is, where are you kind of in that spectrum? What's your background in your speaking journey that kicked it off? Were you kind of like the person in school that always spoke, debate club, all things, or were you the kind of the person like, no, I don't ever want to speak in front of anybody?
I think growing up, I think there's seasons of this whole thing for me. The first was being in school, and I was a mumbler as a kid. I spoke well when I was speaking about something of any substance. So if I was in class and I was answering a question for the teacher, that was fine. But if I were talking to people, small talk and chit chat, and what'd you say? Speak up. And then when I started working, when I graduated college and started working, I started presenting. And that's where my communication skills started to evolve. And I realized I had a knack for it. And as I continued to speak in the early days of my professional career, it really opened up a lot of doors for me. And so I started working on vocabulary and other things like that. And then when I moved to Florida, I was introduced to Toastmasters by a couple of friends. Well-intentioned friends invited me. I resisted. They persisted. I pushed back. It was a tug of war. Finally, they said they wouldn't be friends with me anymore unless I went to a Toastmaster.
Was the growth that you made from that district level loss to coming back to winning the district?
It was understanding a few things, that polish, precision is trumped by presence. Polish, precision, perfection, it's all trumped by presence. Being able to engage with the audience, being able to be present with that audience, connected to that audience, will soar above the person that is articulate, has great grammar, and staging and vocal variety and gestures. It does. If you connect with that audience and you have a message and they can't stop watching you and they're so attentive.
How did you arrive at that conclusion? Was it someone that pointed it out? Were you looking at
Well, you watch. You watch. When you watch and you see someone has the crowd laughing and they're just, you can see it in the crowd where they're attentive to you and they may give you a chuckle or two here or there, but these people have them in the palm of their hands. It's like seeing a great comedian or seeing a great actor that you just can't take your eyes off of them. They're not necessarily the most polished. And I tell people all the time, they're like, well, I don't speak very well. Connect. focus on connecting. Don't worry about being perfect in your diction or anything else. Connect with your people with your story. Tell your story from your heart. People will listen to you when you are authentic and you are earnestly transparent. Because I understand now that I can't connect and I can't bring the presence if it's not me.
It's not.
Even though I can project emotion from a character like they do in the movies, something different when you're connecting with an audience. It's different. Yeah. And so that was another revelatory moment for me back in 2019. And that was the first pass of the speech you saw today, Overalls and Thermal Underwear. There's a first edition of that in 2019. And what I always tell people is it's not about having a bunch of different stories.
Nope.
Usually there's a handful of stories that you're going to keep working on and perfecting, and they mean so much to you and they mean so much to your audience, and they have so much to learn from that's where you're going to spend your investment as you perfect those speeches. Especially, I mean, they're 5 to 7 minutes, right? They're not keynotes. They're not, you know what I mean? They're not TED Talks. Nope. These are very quick, short stories that are meaningful to you, that you've got to figure out a way to evoke emotion and humor and thought provocation.
Absolutely. And I agree with everything that you said. I tell people all the time, focus on like one really good story at a time, and working sharply. And I say to demonstrate that, professional speakers do it all the time. Like, I know if you're familiar with Les Brown, you've got to be hungry as a story he told for decades. Yeah, and he'll still bring it up, right?
That's it.
Yeah, you know, it's a story. And I tell people too, if you look at comedians, because comedians are speakers, they are speakers. A comedian doesn't, when they're working on an act, they don't come up with a new joke every single time. They take an act and they polish it over time. It's the same premise. And I had a comedian do my podcast, and he said you can just rework a joke.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what we do. You know, you don't have to have 50. You don't have to have 11 million speeches in the back burner. You can have just a couple and just.
I tell people, even when they get started, I said that was a great icebreaker. Give it again next week, make it 5 to 7 minutes, and
absolutely
work on this and that. And they're like, why? I don't have to have another speech. And I'm just telling you, there's more opportunity with the speech you have, and it has potential. So experiment and learn and grow from there, because I think it's something we need to help people with, because they go around talking about all these different things, and then they don't really understand that they're on a journey to find their voice and the messages behind that voice that will go out and impact the community and the greater of mankind. So, that's just something I try to help people. They don't see it right away. Part and parcel, I mentioned earlier, the speaker's paradox. The speaker's paradox is this. As a speaker, you never experience your speech in the moment. You can go back and watch tape. You can try to watch yourself, turn the audio off, watch your expression, all that stuff, but you're not in the audience. That's why you need coaches. You need to develop relationships with coaches if you're going to be a speaker, because they'll be in the audience and are the closest to looking at it from your lens.
Derek, please tell me, what's your process for creating a speech? Are you a kind of write it all out? Are you kind of a bullet point person? Are you a change it on the spot? What's your process for developing a speech or a presentation?
Now, most of the time, it's a lot of brainstorming to start. What do I want to talk about? What are the stories in my history? And then I look at all of those, and then I get a mood or a feeling about a few of them. And this year, it was Overalls and Thermal Underwear, telling the whole story.
Overalls and Thermal Underwear. I love that.
Telling that whole story, which included my grandma dying, which was actually the part that drove me to relationship with my grandfather. I use what I've now defined very clearly as my trifecta approach to building a championship speech. Okay. And that's first, the storytelling what I'll call blueprint. You can call it a rubric or whatever, but the storytelling blueprint I learned from Kevin Stamper, 2017 third place finisher.
Okay.
And it goes like this: a likable character with a noble want who overcomes challenges and obstacles with the assistance of a guide to achieve success. Now, he said that in his keynote at the District 48 conference, and it just stuck with me. He said it once or twice, and I haven't forgotten it since. A likable character with a noble one who overcomes challenges and obstacles with the assistance of a guide to achieve success. For me, I have what I call the big methodology, the big idea methodology, which starts with what's the message? What's the big idea? Those were the big ideas. So, you start with this big idea, and off of that big idea, what are the scenes that support that big idea? I had going to the junkyard with my granddad. I had these scenes, but in those scenes, there are magical moments. So you create the scenes that support the big idea, but within those scenes, there must be magical moments where we laugh, where we cry, and where our thoughts are moved. And then lastly, a call to action. So that's the big idea methodology, but flanked on both sides of the big idea methodology is, on the one side, is masterful storytelling. And then lastly, the two X factors. One, strike out success and replace it with victory. Because victory is from the inside. When a person with glossophobia gets on stage and just knees shaking and they get out 10 seconds to do a table topics and they go sit down, for them, that's a big deal for them. They were victorious that day. You see, I walked off the stage with a trophy. That's success.
Mm-hmm.
But I also walked off the stage changing lives. That's victory. So if we just go after success, we will shortchange the victory.
Them to be vulnerable, but to lead them into victory and success.
Yeah.
Right? To those are quintessential ingredients for success in any sort of communication endeavor. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I love you use the word glossophobia. For anybody out there that doesn't know, that's a fear of public speaking. It's literally a disorder. It literally is.
It really is. Yeah.
Your talks earlier, you spoke about your coaches, you spoke about mentors, people who knew your speech, who worked well with you. How do you handle that feedback process between what you believe is in your heart and what you're being told, maybe some changes or something needs to occur? So how do you handle feedback?
This is a great conversation to have, because it's important for all speakers. You are the CEO of your speech. And until you feel comfortable owning your content, your speeches, be careful with coaches.
Why so? Tell me why. I think I know why you're saying it, but please elaborate.
They offer you insight from things that they know. But it is your story, and you know how you feel, and you know what you want to say. So if somebody's changing your message, changing what's in your heart, that is not going to translate on the stage. Be true to yourself, and you can only do that if you own your speech, and you are the CEO. You are the CEO. Your audience are the shareholders. Your coaches are the board.
Got corporate with us. I like it. A corporate analogy.
Feel very strongly, nope, this is what I'm doing, and they can't accept that. Those are the wrong coaches. The other thing is, you will probably need more than one coach, because there are so many elements of a speech.
I got one more question, and then I will let you get out of here, good sir. You started at your club level, you advanced to your area level, your division level, district level, semis, world championship of public speaking. And what was Derek like after this remarkable journey?
Yeah, so 2025 is an epic year. I always tell folks I live every year to do two things. One, try something new, and that by the end of the year, have something epic happen. Could be write a book. It could be start a new class. It could be something, but make the year worth it. Anything, whatever that could be. This year, the entire year is an epic year. So I was transformed through that experience, and I will take that as I continue this journey.
That's amazing. Well, Derek, congratulations on your
Thank
journey.
you.
Congratulations on your continued motives to inspire
Mhm.
people to be better versions of themselves. We thank you so much for joining us here on the Conversations with Champions podcast. Before we get out of here, are there any socials or where can the people find you at, or are there any activities
Absolutely.
that you would like to talk about real quickly?
Sure. On social, just go Derek, DEREKC, Lott, LOTT, and you'll find me on Instagram. Instagram, where I'm busiest on Instagram. For
Okay.
whatever reason, I've just attached to Instagram.
Okay.
I like it. It works for me. I do a lot of cool things on Instagram. Find me on Instagram. I give a tip every now and then. I'm up to number 5. Today I gave the speaker's creed that I shared with you guys earlier. But I do a lot of cool stuff on Instagram. I am on Facebook. You'll find me the same way, Derek C. Lott. I have a page, but then there's my personal page as well on Facebook. And then I'm on LinkedIn. So professionally, if you want to connect with me, I respond more to LinkedIn. If you reach out to me and you want me to, you want to engage, talk or chat or whatever, LinkedIn is probably the best place to do that. So we talked about 2019 when I went to district and won district the first time I wrote this book. It's called Say It Well. This one is available now on Amazon. It is what I call 101. It has all the basics. If you are starting out and you struggle with, I don't know what to talk about, or I don't know, I can't come up with anything, chapter 1 will blow that out of the water for you. You'll come away with so much stuff to talk about. And then it talks about organizing and tailoring your communications for any given audience. Then it gives you some other tips on how you can use vocabulary substitution and other things like that. Some really strong basics for communications. But the latest, which is in the final, hopefully I can get it on the screen, A Speaker's Journey. I wrote this one in 30 days coming off of the World Championship of Public Speaking. And it is an inspiration. It is capturing everything that I learned. There's 150 champion notes in here, plus the blueprint we talked about, my big idea methodology, and the X factors are all in here. And I covered the 3 reasons I think I didn't place higher in the World Championship of Public Speaking. So, be on the lookout. It'll be out before Christmas for sure. I appreciate this opportunity. It has been enjoyable and collaborative and mutually beneficial.
It has been. And again, thank you so much for joining us. And out there in the world, thank you for tuning in. Again, please remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. That is how the people know, or that's how the algorithm knows that the people like what we are doing. And as I always like to impart to my audience as I leave, please remember to be your best, to be inspired, to be great. We'll talk to you all later. Bye, everybody.